Welcome back, everybody. Well, many of you have been enjoying my series taking a look at some of the photographs from history that maybe we've never seen before, or that tell a unique story, or just maybe give us some new insight into people that we thought we already knew. So I thought I would dive into a similar topic, but this time take a look at actual film clips, video footage of historic events or people or places that I've always found interesting. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at some of those. And this first one we're going to look at is probably one of the most famous events that's ever been caught on video, and that is the Hindenburg disaster from 1937 in New Jersey. There was actually a film crew, because this was a big deal at the time, this German airship, people traveling from Europe to the United States by air in relative luxury. It was kind of like the idea of a luxury passenger liner like the Titanic, but by air and much faster. And they were on hand, and they don't catch the exact moment of the explosion, but the immediate aftermath and some of the most fascinating footage you'll ever see, because not a lot of people realize that a lot of people survived the Hindenburg, and you can see a lot of those people. So let's go ahead and dive into this one. And I got this from British Pathé, which is a fantastic channel for old news footage and things like that.
The ill-fated Hindenburg on her last flight sails over New York. These pictures,
so you can see right there, there's the,
less than 4 hours before the tragedy.
That was the, what's it called? The Empire State Building, which actually had a place for mooring for Zeppelins
over
on it.
Newark's famous auto skyway, the airship was hailed by thousands who little dreamed it was their final glimpse of the Hindenburg. Inside the silver envelope are 16 separate gas bags, each filled with hydrogen, a highly inflammable gas.
Of course, you can note the swastikas on there. This is during that regime, and so in 1937, they're part of that Germany.
From the ground, you can see the forward control cabin from which the ship is operated. The windows along the side indicate the location of the passengers' quarters, in which many were carried to a flaming death.
Yeah, so you can see right there is what he's talking about. That's where, you got a lot of the passengers, and they've got windows there they can see out. And you're going to see a lot of those people start running as it comes crashing down to the ground.
A conquering giant of the skies, but she proved a puny plaything in the mighty grip of fate. It almost seemed as if fate had set the stage for the horrible tragedy. A graceful craft sailing serenely to her doom. For 3 hours, the dirigible circled the landing field at Lakehurst, New Jersey, dumping more water ballast than ever before in vain efforts to level off.
So you can see the water being dumped right there for 3 hours. It circles, and all that time these people are just waiting to land and get off of there. They're trying to get the balance right so they can come down. They drop their ropes.
Again she dumps ballast, and a nervous tension grips those who are watching, for this is something unusual.
I don't know if I've seen a lot of this early, like before hitting stuff. Usually just see the actual explosion.
There goes more ballast, but the tail is settling in spite of all that has been dumped.
Not really explosion,
note
more
of
of a fire.
impending tragedy.
It's just crazy to think we're seeing the last seconds of a lot of people's lives here. Now they drop the ropes, and this is about when it happens.
These scenes were filmed by Pathé News cameraman William Deek, and you're about to see the pictures he got when the ship exploded. Those aboard leaping for life from a flaming inferno. The actual crash of the Hindenburg. An airship destroyed in less than half a minute.
So you can see it going down. It goes down rear first. And like I said, a lot of the people are kind of up in the front. And you're going to start seeing them jumping out and running away. as this unfolds. Watch down near the bottom. You'll start seeing a bunch of people run away. Look, you can see all the people running away. Some running left, some running to the right. You can see them kind of jumping out of it as it gets close to the ground. And you actually even see some people, like there's some places where you see like people under here and it comes down on top of them. It's horrifying. And just like that, I mean, it's pretty well done. It burns up all of that
Rushing
gas.
to the rescue, the heroes of the tragedy dash in, heedless of danger, to help the injured to safety, while others, beyond help, perish in the flames.
And of course, there's also, you very often hear there's a radio broadcast of that, and you hear the guy saying, "Oh, the humanity," and like he's like live, basically like a live stream of what was happening. So that's the Hindenburg. I'll put these links in the description from where I find them so you can watch these for yourself without my commentary if you want. This next one is considered to be the oldest footage of people ever shot in history. It was taken in 1888 in Leeds, in England, and it's called the Round Hay Garden Scene. It's considered the oldest footage ever. You see these people walking around. The older lady in this video was born in 1816. Just incredible stuff. There's really not much to it, but amazing. Amazing that this footage exists. Supposedly, there's actually slightly older kind of like footage, but it's actually a series of photographs that have been put together, which is the same idea behind film. It just wasn't shot as a moving picture, and it actually shows Venus moving in front of the sun. I think it was taken in like 1874. But the Round Hay Garden Scene is considered the very first movie footage ever shot. Now this next one is actually colorized footage from 1896. So it's 8 years later than that first footage that we saw ever taken. But this is considered to be the earliest born person ever captured in video footage. And this is Pope Leo XIII, and it was taken in 1896. But he was born in 1810. So here you have somebody born in 1810. When Napoleon still ruled France. And we have video footage of him. And look how smooth it is. Obviously it's been restored, but absolutely incredible stuff. It's just amazing to me that we have this. This guy was born 212 years ago. Amazing. There's a lot of footage from the Great War, World War I, that was taken. And we have to be careful with some of it because some of that footage claims to show combat, and it's actually later recreations that aren't really what they say they were. And there was a British cinematographer by the name of Jeffrey Malins, and if you've seen my video series from the Somme, you've seen a few of the clips that I've shared of his that are genuine. And I want to show you a couple of those here. This one here, we know for sure was taken around 7:10 on the morning of July 1st, 1916. This is the Sunken Lane. These are the Lancashire Fusiliers waiting at the Sunken Lane, about to attack near Hawthorne Ridge. Within 20 minutes of this footage being shot, a lot of these guys in this photo would be dead. It was the deadliest day in the history of the British military. 20,000 British soldiers were killed that day, British and Commonwealth soldiers. Many of them, these men, and I've been there to that spot where this footage was taken, and the cemetery where a lot of these guys are buried is about 50 feet away from where this footage was shot. That's about how far a lot of them got. And they've actually gotten lip readers to read the lips of some of these guys. And in one shot, so let me pause for a second. In one shot, the lip reader said they actually had the guy saying something about, "I hope we're in the right spot this time when we go over the top where we're supposed to be," and they were. So this is shot from pretty close to that same spot, and this shows the Hawthorne Ridge mine being detonated, something like 40,000 tons of explosives It was a massive mine, one of 19 mines that went off between 7:20 and 7:30 on the morning of July 1st during that attack. And Jeffrey Maitland's filmed it. And he described how the ground shook underneath him, even from this distance. And the dirt you see go in the air is like 600-700 feet in the air. You don't really get a sense of the scale when you watch it. And then after that, we're going to get, and it's really hard to see, and I don't know if he's going to show this in order on here or not, but after that, now here's the thing, and here's where it gets confusing, because Jeffrey Maitland's put together a film called The Battle of the Somme that was shown to people, the British public back home, and he mixes in some of those shots, which are real shots taken at the real spot on the real morning, and then he mixes in with it recreations like this. I believe this is one of the recreations. This is not film of guys going over the top on July 1st. I think they've kind of figured out some of that being a recreation, but then there are shots that we actually have that we know were taken on the morning of July 1st that actually show combat. I'm going to see if I can find some of those for you real quick. So it's really, really hard to see. But this is near that same spot, near the Hawthorne Ridge crater, and you see guys running across in the attack. You have to understand that from this angle, we're not looking like from the British lines right at the German lines. We're actually kind of looking down the long axis of the British lines. So the German lines would be more kind of to the top left corner of this video, and the British are moving from left to right attacking. And it's hard to see, but this is believed to be the first footage of men actually attacking in the First World War, and we actually see guys going down as they get hit. It's really hard to see, but they're in there. And then you see there's kind of a break and an edit, and then you see like a clip, and suddenly there's a bunch more men. And the speculation is that he actually edited out some of the footage because too many guys were going down, and this was going to be shown to the British public, so they didn't want to kind of tear down morale. But you see a couple of these guys actually go down from gunfire here, right in the center of this in the next couple of seconds. Yep, there they go. And now you see an edit, and suddenly you see a whole bunch more guys, and this is probably one of the later waves. So I think what probably happened there is a bunch of guys started going down, and it cuts it out. Here's one from 1900. This is a year before Queen Victoria died, and this was on a visit to Ireland, her last visit to Ireland, and you see a very old Queen Victoria. She's like, I don't know, 80, 81 years old here, something like that, visiting Ireland right at the end of her life. Incredible footage. I mean, this is really in the earliest days of video footage that we have here. She's got a little umbrella there. Somebody's giving her a gift of some flowers. Like, where am I going to keep that in here? So you can guess it must have been sunny that day. But you can see Victoria's wearing black, as she always did. Her husband died back in the 1860s. She was kind of in mourning for the rest of her life. Got her glasses on. Amazing. Now, I should mention that just as with photographs, sometimes videos that claim to be something aren't actually what they claim to be. And there's a great example of that. The video that a lot of people pass off as showing the execution of Leon Czolgosz, who shot and killed William McKinley, the president, is not actually that. It's actually a recreation made by Thomas Edison's studios and passed off by a lot of people as being an actual footage of the execution. It's not. So here's one from 1910 that shows Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria-Hungary by this point. And this is a man who has been emperor since 1848. That's how long he's been on this throne. So it's incredible to see video footage of a man who was the head of state of an empire a decade before the American Civil War. Going back to the time of the Mexican-American War, this guy was Emperor of Austria. So to be able to see footage, and there he is right there in front. You keep seeing him saluting. That's Franz Joseph. And this is just a few years before he died in 1916. Got those big mutton chops going on there. you see in all the photos of him. Try to skip ahead a little bit, see what more we can see of him in this one. So it looks like there's some kind of a parade or some kind of presentations going on that he's a part of, and now he's inspecting some troops here. That's really neat to see. And of course, with a lot of these old photos, one of the things that's important to point out is the reason that you notice that sometimes they seem like the speed is off is that when they were shot, it was all done by hand. So it wasn't like you pressed a button and it started recording at a consistent rate. So if you were speeding up or slowing down how fast you were turning that thing, it would speed up or slow down. That's why there's not always a lot of consistency to how it's shot. And so people have tried to restore and correct and slow down, but it's difficult to do for that reason. Now, Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron, is a guy we have a lot of fantastic footage of, and I've used some of it in my video series from the Great War. And here he is next to one of his planes. He's going to be getting dressed and getting into... Remember, when you're up there in these planes, it's cold up there, and you also have the fear of fire, and so they had protective clothing that kept them warm, but also would protect them against fires. And so he's getting dressed before going up into his plane, and you can see he's getting his jacket on. Then he's going to pull these pants up and over, these really big baggy pants that he would put on. But that's just one of a number of videos that we have of Richthofen. You see him there as well. And now he's getting into his plane. You actually see footage of him actually taking off in his triplane. Really neat stuff. And there he is. I think he's meeting it looks like he's got to be meeting the Kaiser there, because you see the left arm, which the Kaiser always had kind of propped because he had a birth defect from the time he was born, where that arm was kind of withered and he couldn't use it. So I think that's got to be Kaiser Wilhelm II that he's meeting right here. And you can see the Red Baron's got his bandage on his head. So this is post-injury that he suffered. And yeah, that left arm's not moving at all. That's got to be the Kaiser that he's meeting right there. I'm going to back that up. Here he is with a captured British pilot. I've seen this footage before. Yeah, I'm sure that's Kaiser Wilhelm II that he's meeting right there. And speaking of the Kaiser, let's check out some other footage of him. So this is the Kaiser dedicating Germany's new Olympic Stadium on the 25th anniversary. Let's see if we can skip ahead and see a little more of that. So again, you see that arm, that left arm. Any footage you see of Kaiser Wilhelm, you never see that arm moving. He's always just kind of keeping it in some kind of a pose. So the right arm is the only one you'll ever actually see moving. This one here shows the Kaiser toward the end of his life now, when he is in exile in the Netherlands. And it's called Kaiser Wilhelm II chopping wood, but he's really just throwing wood. Again, you see the left arm behind him this time, and he's just kind of flinging the wood along. There wasn't really much to that one, but it gives you a little bit of a sense of that. This one here is footage taken by the Lumiere brothers, who were some of the early folks using video photography. And it's been restored, upscaled, colorized to make it look a little bit more like it might have looked at the time. This was taken in 1897 and shows a snowball fight. I mean, it just... Sometimes the coolest old footage to see is just stuff like this. And here comes a random guy riding his bike through the middle of it. Now they're going to pelt him with it and knock him off his bike. You know, this isn't history. Historical people. These aren't Kaisers or presidents or troops moving in battle. It's just a bunch of adults, and I don't think there's any kids in there. They're all adults just throwing snow at each other. It's fantastic. Here's one more. We'll kind of get to see some regular folks. This is in Accrington, up in northern England. There's a guy stepping in some horse poop there. These are during the celebrations for the coronation of Edward VII. So 1902. You can see that, and you can see the signs there. on the road to the workhouse. So the workhouse is like where you went when you couldn't afford. It was like a place for people who were indigent, poor, elderly, had nowhere else to go. Some of them got wigs on, a bunch of them riding bikes. A lot of them dressed in these white outfits. Fascinating stuff. These guys in blackface? Okay. Guy's dressed like a jester. My goodness. Crazy. Wait, check this guy out. Half white and half black on his uniform there that he's wearing, his outfit. Here's one from the 1930s, and we've got a lot of video footage of Civil War veterans. In fact, there's video out there of people like Dan Sickles when he was still alive late in his life. But this one here also has sound with it. And this is a group of Confederate veterans actually trying to reenact the rebel yell.
Ladies and gentlemen, I feel highly honored at the introduction of our worthy friend and comrade Captain Dr. Lewis. And I will do the best I know how to get that yell up for you. What few of us old corn-feds are left, we'll do all we can. We can't give you much, but we'll give you what we got left. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of announcing to you that we are going to make an effort to repeat the old rebel yell. 1, 2, 3.
Now, I've seen interviews where like people like Shelby Foote talked about how in interviewing old Civil War veterans, a lot of them would say, well, we can't really do it because you have to be running and you have to be attacking to really be able to do it right. So, but that at least gives you some sense of what it must have sounded like. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up right there. I thought it would be a good introduction to this topic because I know you guys are going to come through in flying colors and start sharing with me a bunch of great ideas for videos to show or requests of types of videos you'd like to see. If you share a link in the description, please understand it's not going to show up right away. I have to go in and approve any links that get shared. It prevents spam, things like that. So please feel free to share those links, and as I go through a couple of times a day, I'll approve those links. But please share your ideas. Let me know your thoughts. Use the comment section below. Please hit that like button, and I'll put the links to some of these videos in the description so you can check them out for yourself. Thanks for watching.